We're grateful for each and every one of you. Let us know where in the world you're tuning in from. We'd love to hear from you in the comments. Let's begin. The air in the living room was thick, silent except for the faint hum of the refrigerator down the hall. Daniel Hayes sat forward on the couch, elbows on his knees, exhausted from another day working late shifts at the logistics company. His life had slipped into routine: wake up, grind at work, come home to silence, and fall asleep beside a woman who now felt like a stranger. Madison, his wife of 6 years, stepped into the room wearing a smug, almost triumphant smile. She didn't sit next to him. Instead, she dropped into the chair across from him, legs crossed, arms folded, eyes sharp. That distance alone set his nerves buzzing. "We need to talk," she said, her voice dripping with authority, not vulnerability. Daniel straightened. "All right. What is it?" "I'm pregnant." For a moment, he blinked at her, confusion rattling through him. Pregnant? They hadn't been intimate in nearly 3 months. His chest tightened, but before he could even ask, Madison leaned in and delivered the knife. "It's Logan's. Your brother's." Daniel froze. Logan Hayes, 29, a successful contractor, Daniel's younger brother and best man at his wedding. The image of Logan laughing and clapping him on the shoulder at the altar flashed in his mind, now warped by Madison's cruel smirk. "I know this is hard," she continued, her voice carrying a sick kind of pride, "but Logan and I are in love. We've been seeing each other for months. You're just going to have to deal with it." Her words crashed over him like waves, but Daniel didn't flinch. Instead, he leaned back, studied her face, and simply said, "Congratulations." The smirk faltered. Her arm shifted. "That's it. Congratulations. What else is there to say?" Daniel's voice was calm, eerily calm. "You're having a baby. That's wonderful news." He paused, eyes narrowing. "But I am curious about the logistics." Her brow furrowed. "Logistics?" "Well," Daniel said, pulling his phone from his pocket, "Logan had a vasectomy 5 years ago. Remember? When he was dating Cassandra, the one with 3 kids who wanted more. He never wanted children. I drove him to the procedure myself." Madison's face drained of color. "You're lying." He scrolled through his photos until he found it. A shot of Logan from May 2019, sitting on Daniel's couch with a bag of frozen peas in his lap, grinning and giving a thumbs up. He slid the phone across the coffee table. He even joked in the family group chat for weeks about shooting blanks. Madison's hand trembled as she snatched the phone, staring at the image. Daniel's voice lowered, steady and sharp. "So tell me, if Logan can't have children, whose baby are you carrying?" For the first time in their marriage, Madison's confidence cracked. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. Daniel stood, towering over her. He wasn't shouting, wasn't even angry. Not yet. But his silence carried a power more terrifying than rage. He turned toward the window, staring at the empty street. His world was tilting, but in that tilt, something inside him clicked. Madison stammered, "You're trying to gaslight me." Maybe he had it reversed. "Maybe you never slept with him at all." The sentence sliced through the room, leaving Madison clutching her knees, her mask slipping. For Daniel, this was only the beginning. Because if Madison thought she could break him, humiliate him, and walk away unscathed, she had no idea what kind of storm she had just unleashed. Madison's silence after Daniel dropped the truth about Logan's vasectomy lingered in the air like smoke after a firework. Her mouth opened, closed, then twisted into anger. "You're making things up. You're just jealous because Logan has everything you don't," she spat. Daniel's jaw clenched, but he didn't raise his voice. "Madison, stop lying. You've been gone every weekend for months, claiming you were with your sister, acting like I was blind. I know something's been going on, and now you throw Logan's name into it, hoping it'll hurt me more. But you chose the wrong scapegoat." She slammed her hands on the table. "You can't talk to me like that. I'm the one carrying life here. Your child." Daniel cut her off with icy precision. "No, not mine. We haven't been together since August, and you know it." Her lips quivered. She tried to conjure some false memory, some fabricated timeline, but Daniel wasn't going to let her twist reality. "Remember Zoe's wedding?" she said quickly. "When Zoe's wedding was in July," Daniel interrupted, his voice calm, factual. "And I was at a work conference over Labor Day weekend when you claimed we were together. Don't insult me with lies. Whoever fathered that child, it wasn't me." Madison's face flushed red, fury replacing panic. She grabbed her purse and stormed out of the house, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the picture frames. Daniel exhaled, pressing his palms into his eyes. His heart was hammering, not from heartbreak, but from the realization that his marriage was built on a foundation of betrayal. He had always known Madison had expensive tastes, late-night girls' trips, and moods that left him walking on eggshells. But he hadn't been ready for this. A pregnancy weaponized against him, a lie meant to trap him in humiliation. That night, Daniel sat alone at the kitchen table with a glass of water and his phone. His mind wasn't racing with questions. It was organizing facts. He remembered the PI report he had tucked away in his desk drawer, the one he'd commissioned weeks earlier when Madison's excuses started sounding too rehearsed. He hadn't even opened the file yet. He pulled it out now. The manila folder slid across the table, heavy with truth. Inside were photographs, grainy but undeniable. Madison walking into a downtown hotel on 3 separate weekends. Sometimes she was with a man Daniel didn't recognize. Sometimes she was alone, smiling into her phone, only for the same man to arrive minutes later. Daniel's stomach twisted, but not from grief, from resolve. She wasn't just unfaithful. She was careless, arrogant, certain he'd never look closely. The next morning, Madison tried a new tactic. He woke to the smell of bacon frying, something she hadn't cooked in over a year. She waltzed into the bedroom in lingerie, carrying a tray. "Good morning, baby," she said sweetly, as if nothing had happened the night before. "I know I scared you yesterday. Hormones make me say things I don't mean. This is your baby, of course it is." Daniel stared at her with an unreadable face. "Really?" "Yes," she said quickly, forcing a laugh. "We just lost track of time, remember?" "I remember a lot, Madison," he said, his tone cool. "I also remember being in another city when you claimed this baby was conceived." Her eyes flickered. He could see her brain scrambling for a new excuse. "I must have miscounted the weeks. Doctors, they can get it wrong." "No," Daniel said firmly, pushing the tray aside. "This isn't about doctors. This is about you lying again, and I'm done listening." Her mask shattered, fury spilling out. "You think you're so much smarter than me? Fine. I don't need you. Someone else wants me. Someone better than you ever were." Daniel stood, calm and steady. "Then pack your things. You'll need his support, not mine." The next days were chaos. Madison's mother, Carla, called Daniel sobbing, demanding to know why he was throwing out a pregnant woman. Madison had clearly run to her parents with a twisted version of the story. "She told me you're abandoning her and your child," Carla cried. Daniel's reply was sharp. "She told me the child was my brother's." Then she tried to backtrack. "And I have photographs, Carla. She's been in hotels with another man for months. Don't talk to me about abandonment. Your daughter abandoned me a long time ago." The line went silent. Then, with a shaky breath, Carla said, "Ew, hired someone to follow her." Daniel's voice hardened. "I suspected the truth, and I was right." Word spread through the family fast. Group chats exploded with accusations, defenses, denials. Madison posted long messages about being a victim of Daniel's coldness and jealousy. Daniel didn't argue back. He didn't need to. Logan himself dropped into the chat, attaching a PDF of his vasectomy paperwork with a blunt caption, "Sterile since 2019. Stop dragging me into this." That ended the rumors about Logan, but it opened the floodgates of speculation. Madison's sister tried to hush the storm, but another sibling added fuel by pointing out that Madison had stayed at their beach house during the exact time she claimed to conceive. Family loyalties cracked like glass. Daniel watched it unfold with grim detachment. Madison wanted a spectacle. She was about to get one. Because Daniel wasn't planning to simply walk away. He wanted the truth laid bare in front of everyone, and he was already preparing how. By the end of that week, Daniel had transformed from a betrayed husband into a man with a plan. The betrayal cut deep, yes, but beneath the hurt was a chilling clarity. Madison wasn't just unfaithful, she was reckless. And the only way to free himself from her chaos was to expose her games so thoroughly that no one could deny the truth. Thanksgiving in the Hayes household was always hosted by Madison's family. For years, Daniel had dreaded it. Long tables filled with forced smiles, Madison's mother hovering with judgmental comments, her siblings whispering behind wine glasses. But this year, Daniel decided he would attend. He wasn't going for the food. He was going for the stage. The night before the dinner, Daniel received an unexpected call from Terrell, Madison's brother-in-law. His voice was heavy, tired, almost broken. "We need to talk," he said, man to man. They met at a small sports bar, the kind with neon beer signs and TVs blasting highlights no one was watching. Terrell looked rough, unshaven, circles under his eyes, clutching a bourbon like it was the only thing holding him together. Daniel sat across from him. "What's going on?" Terrell rubbed his temples. "I wasn't going to say anything, but after that family group chat, I started putting things together. Madison, she stayed at our beach house over Labor Day. Gwen," he swallowed, naming his wife, Madison's sister, was out cold that weekend. She mixes wine with her meds, and she's gone for hours. That night, I was drinking heavy too. Blacked out. Woke up confused, shirt inside out on the couch. Gwen told me she put me there. But then I checked the security cam in the bedroom. And man, he shoved his phone across the table with shaking hands. Daniel hesitated, then looked. The footage was grainy but clear enough. Madison, tiptoeing out of the bedroom at 3:27 a.m., hair disheveled, shoes in hand. Terrell's voice cracked. "I didn't even know until now. But that baby, the timeline matches. It's probably mine." Daniel's gut twisted, but he kept his face still. So Madison's been lying to everyone. To me, to Logan, even to her own sister. Terrell nodded miserably. "I can't live like this. Thanksgiving's tomorrow. I'm telling the truth." Daniel leaned back, his eyes cold but calculating. "Then let's make sure everyone hears it." The next day, the tension in the dining room was electric. Aunts, uncles, cousins, they all seemed to sense the storm brewing. Madison sat near Gwen, whispering furiously in her ear, while Terrell poured himself bourbon with shaking hands. Logan sat at the opposite end, his jaw tight, while Daniel quietly took a seat between his parents. Desiree, Madison's mother, clinked her glass. "Before we eat, Madison has an announcement." Madison stood, her hand resting on her stomach, glowing with self-righteous pride. "Despite the challenges in my marriage, I'm blessed to say I'm expecting. And I've decided to raise this child with someone who truly loves me. Someone who's been by my side through everything." She grabbed Gwen's hand and held it up. "My sister and I are moving in together. We'll raise this baby as a family, with or without a deadbeat husband." Whispers rippled through the room. Gwen looked startled, but managed a stiff smile, caught between loyalty and confusion. Daniel didn't move. He simply sipped his water and waited. Then Terrell stood. His voice was raw but steady. "Since we're talking about this baby, I think everyone deserves to know how it came to be." Madison's face snapped toward him, white as paper. "Terrell, don't." "No," he said firmly, pulling out his phone. "It's time." He connected it to the Bluetooth speaker in the corner, the one usually used for background music. A recording filled the room. Madison's voice, slurred but unmistakable. "He won't remember anything. Gwen's passed out. Stop being such a baby about it." Then Terrell's groggy weak. "What? What are you doing? Stop." Gasps broke across the table. Gwen's fork clattered to her plate, her eyes wide with horror. Madison lunged toward the phone. "That's out of context," she screamed. Daniel finally stood, his voice sharp as steel. "What context makes that better, Madison? You lied to me, tried to drag my brother's name into this, and now we all hear the truth." Gwen's hands trembled as she stared at her sister. "You drugged me. You went after my husband. In my own house." Madison's mask shattered. Her voice cracked into shrill desperation. "None of you understand. Daniel never loved me. I deserve better. I just wanted. You wanted to destroy everyone around you." Daniel cut in. "And you nearly succeeded." The room erupted into chaos. Desiree sobbed, torn between daughters. Cousins whispered, some in disbelief, others shaking their heads. Terrell dropped his wedding band on the table and stormed out. Gwen followed, her face streaked with tears, leaving Madison alone in a storm of judgment. Daniel didn't yell. He didn't need to. He simply looked at Madison one last time and said, "You thought you could humiliate me. You thought you could trap me. But now, the only one trapped is you, in your own lies." He walked out, leaving the family in stunned silence. Madison standing there trembling, her empire of manipulation crumbling around her. But for Daniel, This was only the beginning of his revenge. The public exposure was step one. Step two would leave Madison with nothing. No reputation, no safety net, and no illusions left to hide behind. Daniel walked out of that Thanksgiving dinner with his head high, but his chest heavy. He hadn't just exposed Madison's betrayal. He had torn apart a toxic web that had suffocated him for years. Yet he knew Madison wouldn't stop. She was cunning, desperate, and arrogant. She would try to twist the narrative again, to claw back sympathy, to paint herself as the victim. But Daniel was ready. The morning after the explosive dinner, Madison showed up at his apartment door. She was wearing sweats, her hair unkempt, her eyes blazing with fury. She pounded on the door, shouting loud enough for neighbors to peek through blinds. "You ruined me, Daniel. You humiliated me in front of everyone," she screamed. Daniel opened the door only halfway, his expression calm, deliberate. "No, Madison, you ruined yourself. I just turned the lights on." She tried to push past him, but he blocked her path. "I'm your wife. You can't just shut me out." "Not anymore," he said coldly. "The divorce papers are already in motion, and I'll be filing for legal separation today. Whatever you thought we had, it ended the moment you betrayed me." Her face twisted, desperation leaking into her voice. "You can't divorce me while I'm pregnant. The law will force you to support me." Daniel almost laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Actually, the law will protect me. I have proof you admitted this isn't my child, and the timeline proves it. You wanted to play games, Madison. You just lost." For the first time, she faltered. Her eyes darted, searching for a foothold. Then her voice dropped to a whisper. "Please, Daniel, don't leave me like this. I made mistakes, but I love you. I just want more romance, more passion. You've been distant." Daniel's voice cut her off like a blade. "Romance doesn't mean betrayal. Passion doesn't mean sneaking into hotel rooms. And love doesn't mean destroying your own sister's marriage." He shut the door on her, the lock clicking like a final nail in the coffin. From that day forward, Daniel's revenge wasn't about shouting or dramatic scenes. It was about precision. He knew Madison thrived on control, so he stripped her of it piece by piece. First, he exposed the truth legally. With the PI's photographs, the security footage, and the audio Terrell had provided, Daniel's attorney filed everything into the divorce proceedings. The court saw Madison's lies for what they were, and she was stripped of any claim to spousal support. The house, which Daniel had purchased with his own earnings before the marriage, remained solely his. All Madison got was her personal belongings. Second, Daniel stayed quiet in public while Madison spiraled. She tried to paint herself online as the victim, posting vague captions about escaping a loveless marriage and fighting for her baby alone. But Daniel didn't engage. He let her words float into the void, while people who knew the truth shredded her lies in the comments. Silence, he realized, was louder than her noise. Third, Daniel rebuilt himself. He started new routines, morning runs instead of sleepless nights, therapy sessions instead of bottled-up anger. He reconnected with friends he had pushed away during his marriage. At the gym, he found companionship with Quinn, a quiet schoolteacher who had heard bits of his story and still chose to sit beside him. Her kindness reminded him that love didn't have to come with daggers hidden beneath it. But the true revenge came months later, when Madison tried one last desperate move. She filed a claim in family court, demanding financial support from Terrell, the man she had trapped in her deception. Her argument was simple. Regardless of circumstances, he was the biological father. The courtroom was tense, Madison standing at the front, visibly pregnant, pleading for sympathy. But Terrell's lawyer presented the evidence, the recording, the footage, the pharmacy receipt. The judge looked at Madison like she was delusional. "Ma'am, you cannot demand support from a man while simultaneously facing legal consequences for deceiving him. This court will not indulge manipulation." Her face collapsed. Tears streamed down, but they weren't of guilt. They were of defeat. Daniel sat in the back row of the courtroom, arms folded. He didn't smile, didn't gloat. He simply watched the final collapse of the woman who had once looked him in the eye and said, "Deal with it." And in that moment, he realized his revenge was complete. Madison had destroyed herself. All he had done was make sure the truth couldn't be buried. Months later, spring came. Daniel signed the final divorce papers, the ink dark against the crisp white page. He handed them back to his lawyer, his hand steady. When he stepped outside, the sun felt different, warm, promising, clean. He drove past the old house, now empty, the blinds drawn. Madison was gone, living with her mother, her reputation shattered, her future uncertain. The family was fractured beyond repair. Thanksgiving, Christmas, birthdays, all forever tainted by her choices. But Daniel felt free. He wasn't just free from Madison. He was free from the quiet prison of betrayal, from the weight of lies, from the fog of manipulation. That evening, he sat across from Quinn at a small Italian restaurant, candlelight flickering between them. She reached across the table, brushing her fingers against his. "You don't have to talk about her anymore, you know," she said softly. Daniel smiled, a real smile for the first time in years. "I know. I'm done with the past. I just want to live again." Quinn squeezed his hand. "Then let's start living." And for the first time, Daniel didn't feel the ghost of betrayal hovering over him. He felt hope. The revenge hadn't been a single blow. It had been patience, truth, and letting Madison's own actions crush her. And in that quiet victory, Daniel found the sweetest freedom of all.